Okay.
Mr. President, we're ready.
Good morning. And at this time, we're happy to see each and every one of us, and glad that everyone is in good health. And we will hear now from our city clerk.
This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, October 13th. We'll have our invocation led by Katrina Brown Kennedy, the Stone Street Baptist Church, and please stand for the pledge.
Will you bow your heads as I pray? Dear wise and loving Father, let me first say thank you on behalf of all gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health. We need to fulfill our callings for sustenance and for friendship, and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thanks as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us even so from your boundless and gracious natures. In the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. I'm asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our time, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives, and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before you today. Please give an assurance that what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work and around our beloved city of Mobile. I pray this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, President Manzi,
Here.
Vice President Small,
Here.
Councilmember Richardson,
Here.
Councilmember Williams,
Here.
Councilmember Days,
Here.
Councilmember Rich,
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement approved.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In response to national, state, and local guidance due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the Alabama Open Meetings Act and the governor's supplemental emergency proclamation, we are meeting remotely. All items we will address during this meeting are either necessary to respond to COVID-19 or necessary to perform essential minimum functions of the city. The public is able to present comments to the council by emailing them to cityclerk@cityofmobile.org. Public comments which will be acknowledged as received during the meeting and distributed to council members and included in the meeting minutes. All speakers will be granted 5 minutes. At the end of 3 minutes, At the end of the second minute, a bell will sound, indicating that you have 60 seconds to complete your commentary. As always, the meeting is live streamed and can be viewed through the city's website or on the council's Facebook page. Thank you for your continued interest in your municipal government.
approval of minutes of October 6th.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see everybody this morning. I know that you join me in being grateful that Hurricane Delta did not come ashore here on our shores. You know, for the people that are in the Lake Charles area, you know, our heart goes out to them. As of this morning, as a result of storm debris pickup, we think that we've picked up 79% of what we call the first pass. And the first pass is, these are with the outside contractors. So, you know, probably the time we're through, it may end up taking us 3 passes to get everything because of the accumulation, you know, that continues to be put on the street, because we'll move some and then, you know, some more shows up as people continue to clean up their yards. But anyway, we feel like that we're making great progress in the cleanup. Speaking of cleanups, we, from the administration standpoint, we have cleaned up 2 of our communities with taking the city leadership from the standpoint of leadership within the city departments. And we've, this Friday, October 23rd, we're going to target the Africatown community cleanup. We hope that each of you will join us. The cleanup lasts from 8 a.m. until noon. We're going to meet at the Robert Hope Community Center. At that point, you'll be given buckets and grabbers and gloves and vests. And so then we'll do a walkabout, picking up trash and litter, trying to let those citizens realize that we are very interested in the way their community looks, and kind of give them a hand up on making sure it's clean. City of Mobile, as we approach Halloween, we're obviously trying to figure out ways to make sure that it's safe for our children. So we're going to have a reverse trunk or treat being put on by special events in our Parks and Rec department. It will be from 10 a.m. It'll be at Langen Park, 10 a.m. to noon on Saturday, October 31st. So for those that want to participate in the reverse trunk or treat, we ask that you drive slowly through the parks, and we'll have members of our Parks and Rec team, plus some police officers, plus some firefighters will be there to bring treats out to your car. Anyway, it should be a very enjoyable and memorable occasion for our trick-or-treaters. On another note, I've been notified that Isaiah Golf Club Pro Lawrence Hour won the Alabama Northwest Florida PGA Senior Championship at the Dothan Country Club this past weekend. So we certainly congratulate him on that. John, you didn't play in that event?
Oh, no. That Lawrence is one of the better golfers in all of our region, obviously, by his victory.
Well, I think I'm sure you join us and welcome and congratulating him on this outstanding feat.
Absolutely.
Okay, so really that's all my remarks, Mr. President. Look forward to the rest of the city council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate
President?
all of you. Mr. Vice President, then Mr. Richardson.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Mayor. I had some citizens to reach out to me in regards of concerns of being fined by having trash outside of their residence. You know, is the city not going to fine for a certain length of time, or there's a time limit, or can you help to explain that?
Yeah, so you're not saying that someone has been fined. They're curious as to whether they will be fined?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is something we've not brought up. But until we have made what I'm going to say, until we declare that we've picked up all the storm debris, I can't imagine that we'd be issuing tickets for the debris on the roadsides. But we will, since you brought that up, I'll alert Colonel Lapp to make sure that we communicate what point in time will we be considered normal.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. President?
Mr. Richardson and then Ms. Gregory.
Yep. Mr. Mayor. I sent you an email yesterday regarding the possibility of hazardous pay for first responders, and I want to know whether or not we received any funds from the CARES Act, and if so, would any of those funds be used to provide hazardous pay to our first responders?
Yes, I saw your email this morning. I got with Mr. Wish, and he is going to respond to that email, give me the information for it.
Okay.
Ms. Gregory?
Yeah, Mayor, just wanted to say thanks to the folks in Public Works. I had an issue last week. Some folks called me on Friday afternoon, very upset, and one of their neighbors, a 90-year-old woman, who was having some issues with some of the tree removal and placement of debris. And at any rate, I was able to get in touch with John Peavy, and John in turn sent Peter Toller out, and they were able to come and pick up the debris. One of the big problems was that all of this debris was stacked so high that it was impeding driveways. It was around fire hydrants, and people just couldn't see. Plus, they were placing a lot of this debris in people's yards where the debris didn't come from in the first place. And so it was just creating some issues. But anyway, just big kudos to the folks in Public Works who got on it immediately, solved the problem. And so now those people on Horlester Drive over there just think, the city's the best, Public Works folks, as we well know, are, a tremendous team, and they do yeoman's work. And I just want to say thank you for them getting on that little issue, which was a big issue to them, right away on a Friday afternoon and Saturday.
I really appreciate it. And I know they appreciate you bringing recognition to them, because they are really working hard trying to remove the trash. But you bring up an important point. There are some places where the trash has been piled so high that it's become a hazard for people either backing out of the driveways or whatever. And those are important areas for us to know about. So, if you have an area, if you see an area where that is calls for concern, please reach out to 311, and Colonel DeLapp, you can direct them to call somewhere else. But that would be my suggestion, because if there's what I would call a hot, dangerous area, we need to get on it so that it doesn't create a problem. But thank you for your recognition.
All right.
Mr. President,
Mr. Williams?
question day for the mayor. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
I heard about the trunk or treat, and I think that's a great idea. And I think Sean has gone just leaps and bounds in a great direction for our Parks Department. But is there going to be, or have you heard of any guidance that's going to come down that's going to limit trick or treating in neighborhoods and parties in neighborhoods?
I've not heard anything to that effect. I don't mind calling the governor's office and see if there's some directive coming from there. And if not, we'll get back to you and let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Any other questions of Mayor Stimson? Any other commentary? Well, we appreciate you. Madam City Clerk?
Mr. President,
No, Ms. Gregory, I'm sorry.
proclamation.
Yes, ma'am.
As you all know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and you see us all wearing pink today, so thank you all for that. I have a proclamation I'd like to read. Whereas it is estimated that nearly 276,000 Americans will be diagnosed with breast cancer just this year, with more than 42,000 of those lives being lost to this terrible disease. And whereas breast cancer is the second most common cancer in women, yet with education, early detection, and innovative treatments, it can be defeated. Whereas we can all play an important role in winning this fight by raising awareness of this disease, its warning signs, and the importance of screening through encouraging all women to find out if they are at an increased risk of result of family history or other factors, and then to also speak with their healthcare providers and get regular mammograms. Whereas this month also provides the opportunity to honor those who have lost their fight with this disease, the courageous survivors who have and are still prevailing against it, and all the members of the medical community who work so hard every day to defeat it. And whereas working together, we can and will conquer this disease. Now, therefore, I, Gina Gregory, Council Member of District 7, along with the members of the Mobile City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2020 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Mobile, and urge all of our citizens to join in raising awareness. So thank you very much, everyone, for wearing your pink and supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Normally, every October, there are a lot of events that we can all go to and be a part of, but unfortunately this year, because of the pandemic, those in-person events are limited. But there are some I wanted to bring to your attention, and one will be the sort of Making Strides walk substitution, if you will. Many thanks to Gardberg and Kennerly for helping to sponsor this event. They are doing a drive-by on October 31st from 8 until 9 at Battleship Park. And the name of this event is being called Protect the Chest. You know what I mean, with the chest, of course, but it's also a pirate-themed sort of an event. So the chest is also, pirate themed. Think about, chest of gold and all of that sort of thing. They'll be decorating cars. Everybody's encouraged to decorate your car in pink and pirate-themed things. And they will do just a drive-through around Battleship Park. And then also you can tune into your FM radio and you'll be able to hear all of the event things that they're saying and talking about during the event on your radio. So just a big thank you to Gardberg and Kennerly for doing this. And also, of course, there are the Real Men Wear Pink. That event is going on. And Bras Across the Causeway is also an event going on. So if you're interested in contributing or being a part of any of these events, you can log on to the American Cancer Society. Of course, there's a local office on Downtowner. They'll be more than happy to share information with you about how you can get involved and do your own contribution for the American Cancer Society. And the good news for you all, of course, you know that I am a cancer survivor, a breast cancer survivor. I am 2 years and 7 months a survivor. So going on that 3-year mark, and I'm just really happy to say, hey, I'm here. I feel great. I've got lots of hair. For anybody who remembers when I shaved my head, I wore a wig. But it is certainly something that you can do. You can survive, and there's a great support community here in Mobile for any of you. So just keep up the fight for all those of you who are going through chemotherapy and radiation, and then all of us who are survivors, and we continue on today. So just thank you for this opportunity, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Ms. Gregory, and thank you for leading the charge and honoring and recognizing this important month. And we're just grateful to God that we still have our own survivor, Gina Gregory, and that you're doing so well. And we're just proud of you. And I know you are a shining example to a lot of individuals who have had to or will be going down your path, for them to see how strong and how tenacious you've been, and to see the comeback, and how even while you were experiencing your illness, you continued to work, continue to represent your district with distinction. So I'm just proud of you. I know this entire council is appreciative of all that you've done. Well, and the survivor you are.
Thanks. I don't want to forget the fact that we have a lot of city employees who are also survivors. Some of them are probably on Zoom today. So this month is for all of us, because most of you who are here on this Zoom either know someone or has a family member that has been impacted by breast cancer. 1 in 7 women will be diagnosed. So it's continues on today. People keep asking, how do you get it? How do you get it? Well, there's no rhyme or reason. There are lots of reasons that, cancer exists, and we get it. The main thing is just to take charge of your treatment plan and use the support in the area that is there for you. And you too can get through it. And of course, I've always told people, if you have any questions, if you need anything, I'm always there to help or to point you in the right direction, as any breast cancer survivor is. And I've had some great friends right here in the city of Mobile who have been with me the whole way and have helped answer questions and be my support as well.
Amen. All right. Congratulations. Keep up the fight.
Can I just comment real quick on that?
Absolutely, Ms. Rich.
Okay. I know Gina remembers that we're all part of Team Gina, and you're right. There are lots of women and even men that
Yes, ma'am.
get breast cancer. We can't forget about that. But I know that I was always in awe of how much you shared your experience and how important that became. And so I hope that everyone thinks back on that for you, because you really made a difference. And for that, I be forever grateful and will remain in awe of what you were able to do through your experience. And of course, we wish you continued good health, and
Well,
everybody else as well. And thanks for announcing those programs, because they are still happening even in the COVID environment. But
Yeah.
it's a month to remember to get your examination and to make sure that you keep up with your good health.
Yeah.
Same to you, Gina.
Oh, thanks, Bess. I really appreciate that. I remember when I first announced to you all that I had breast cancer, I said, if you see me walking around the office and I look a little green around the gills, well, this is why. And, you know, you all were so supportive, and I really appreciate you and the mayor and everybody within the administration supporting me, and how gracious you've all been, you know, during this. And so I just hope that we all continue to do that, or have that kind of support for others who, you know, who we know in the community who are diagnosed and going through treatment. It hits so many people, so many men and women, that it's something that we need to be aware of. And of course, try to share the information about getting mammograms. Very, very important. And in some cases, a mammogram, like for me, didn't show that I had cancer. So sometimes you've got to take other steps through ultrasounds, MRIs, that kind of thing, to find out, you know, what's going on. I always thought a mammogram would show cancer, breast cancer, if I had it, but it didn't. So, you know, there are those instances, and we just need to be aware of those.
Thank you again. Thank you again. Madam City Clerk.
Adoption of the agenda.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. I would,
Mr. Davis?
would like to add to that motion to adopt the agenda, that all those items listed on the agenda as essential COVID-19 items be declared essential COVID-19 items.
Accepted in the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Appeals. We have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance on October 24th in Mardi Gras Park, November 6th on Moffett Road, October 24th on Wellington Street, October 17th, 24th, and 31st in Bienville Square, October 31st on Yorkshire Lane, and October 17th on South Conception Street.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Probably moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Public hearings. Today is the public hearing to rezone property located at the east terminus of Blue Ridge Boulevard, extended to the west terminus of Old Dobbin Drive North, the west terminus of Harness Way, the north terminus of Creekline Drive, and the north terminus of Valleydale Drive from R1, R2, and B1 to R1. And let me admit these people. I have, okay. Okay, I have Leela Lowe on, and Lee Watley, and also we have downstairs Paul Mercinko.
So we'll hear from Ms. Lowe first. You'll have 3 minutes, and if you could Begin your communication by stating your name and your address for the record.
Okay, my name is Lella Lowe, and I live at 2609 Shea Court in Carriage Hills in District 6. And I thank you for letting me speak to you today about the issue we're speaking on, the downzoning request for the preserve at Milkhouse Creek. And just to be clear, I absolutely agree with the downzoning to R1, so no problems there. However, I also look at this zoning question as an opportunity to perhaps make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed on this project, because I think that after the zoning is approved, it's my understanding that they pretty well can start pulling permits and such. So I want to talk to you about the T crossing for traffic. Traffic is an issue in our mind, or I believe is an issue. I understand that the traffic study was done on March 30th, which, as we all know, schools had let out for the coronavirus effective March 17th. Most people were sheltering in place. I don't think that the state order came down until the very 1st of April, but the point is traffic was off by March 30th. So a March 30th traffic study, in my mind, is not valid to look at the total volume of traffic as a result of this project. Also, the traffic study did not take into consideration the interior streets. I believe the traffic study only looked at the entrances onto Hillcrest and Cottage Hill. So I am most concerned about the effect on those interior streets. You know, true to its name, Carriage Hills is hilly and windy, and a lot of the residents use street parking, which makes visibility even more of a problem. So we are concerned for the safety of our children and our pets and old people like me who walk the streets. Over the 32 years that I have lived in Carriage Hills, I have seen Hillcrest and Cottage Hill go from 2-lane roads to 5-lane roads. I have seen massive development on our corner, Cottage Hill and Hillcrest. And then most recently, I have seen that major issue that's been created at Royal Carriage and Cottage Hill when the Zaxby's was allowed to put a driveway directly across from our main entrance. And yet, despite all this, we're still basically a residential neighborhood, even though we have 520 houses in our residential neighborhood. We're just a residential neighborhood, and you're planning to put 124 home development basically in the middle of our neighborhood. And they are planning to use the same winding and hilly streets that we use. So over the course of the years, and more particularly as this project has been coming online, I've spoken with many of my neighbors about traffic issues, and I've heard stories of speeding. In fact, I've seen this myself, speeding, people passing. If you're trying to go 25 on these residential streets, they will pass you, and just reckless driving. And I know that over the years, yeah.
Excuse me, that's your 3 minutes.
Oh, I thought I had 5. I'm sorry.
Can I
Okay.
grant her an additional minute, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I don't have one problem with that, Ms. Rich. Ms.
Thank you.
Lowe, please
Yeah.
continue for another additional minute.
Thank you. There have been numerous requests for traffic calming devices. They've been denied. There was one set up on Old Auburn East, but the result of that was just to direct all that traffic to Wagon Wheel, which is basically hillier and curvier than Old Auburn East. So I think the moral of that story is if we're going to do traffic calming devices, it needs to be done throughout those busy streets. But there are numerous suggestions how to do this project better, including putting the onus on the developer to create his own exit from that 124 housing unit. And that can be done also, but I basically want to make sure that the cost of fixing this issue should not be on the city, it should be on the developer. And I think that would happen before that should happen before the zoning change is granted. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely no problem. Thank you, Ms. Lowe. Madam City Clerk?
Lee Watley.
I see
Lee
Mr.
Watley would be next.
Mr. Watley, if you could state your name and
Hey, can you
address
hear
for
me?
the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes in order to share your commentary.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Just to go along with what Ms. Lowe was saying, we too had concerns about the traffic flow, and at first the
Name and address, please.
Mr. Watley, your name and address, please.
excuse me,
Your name and address, please.
Lee Watley, 6416 Gaslight Lane South, Carriage Hills.
Go ahead.
Anyway, we learned about this development, and that it was unlike most developments that had been built, was going to not have its own residential collector. So that raised some concern, since all the traffic from the new development would go through Carriage Hills and Asheville. And then a little bit later, we learned that the idea was being floated of routing all of the traffic into Carriage Hills from the new development, and not to Asheville at all. So that set off some alarm bells, and not having access to the official traffic study, not knowing if that situation was even taken into account, we decided to do our own simplified study just based on some information we found online. And that's a document that I had asked to be submitted. I don't know if you have that before you or not. But anyway, we did some calculations based on all of the preserved traffic going into Carriage Hills, and it violated a recognized standard, which is 3,000 average daily trips at Royal Carriage Drive, which we felt like was just unacceptable for our neighborhood to have all of that traffic coming into Carriage Hills. Just, for the problem at Royal Carriage alone, not to mention all the other problems that Ms. Lowe has already touched on. So we got a couple of alternatives suggested in there. One is that, which is not as desirable, but the original proposal, which was to connect the Carriage Hills and Asheville, when we ran those numbers, that will get the traffic down below the 3,000 average daily trip count at Royal Carriage Drive. The other alternative, which is in the document, which would be the best outcome for Carriage Hills and Asheville, is for the developer to install his own collector street out to Cottage Hill Road, which appears at first glance to be doable. It would take some more study. But bottom line is, the main thing we don't want to happen is for all of this preserved traffic to go through Carriage Hills alone, and that's what the document addresses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watley. Madam City Clerk.
Okay, we also have Paul Masinko.
Mr. Masinko, if you could state your name and your address for the record, and then proceed with any commentary you'd like to share for the next 3 minutes.
Yes, sir, absolutely. I want to check and make sure that everybody can hear me okay.
We can.
Yes.
Yes. Will you state your name and address first, please?
Excellent, yes. Paul Marcinko, Jade Consulting, 208 North Reno Road, Fairhope, Alabama. I'm here on behalf of the client. We're the civil engineer for this project. I wanted to mention that this is for a approval for rezoning. We're simply trying to clean up the existing zoning map. We're going from a B1, an R1, and an R2 that's split zoning across all of these parcels, and proposing to clean that up to an R1. That would be allowed by right for this subdivision to be built. I wanted to mention that at this point, sorry, I'm here in the lobby of the building here. We have recommendation from to approve the project, and the plat comments are tentatively approved as well. So we are requesting the rezoning for these parcels, and all other aspects of this project have already been approved. So I'm here with if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there
I
any
have a
questions
question.
of Mr.
I
Marcinko?
do.
Ms.
I have a
Rich?
question. Thank you for being here and representing the developer. The subdivision was approved by the Planning Commission, but it requires getting everything rezoned. And one of the biggest things that the residents learned initially when gathering up early on the application was split up. It was not done as a rezoning and a subdivision at the same time. So it's kind of piecemeal. I've never seen that happen on something as stunning as this that will have such an impact. But the traffic study, were you present at that community meeting, or his first name is Trey, is also someone with Jade as well, correct?
That's correct.
Were you present? I don't know if everyone was introduced. At the community meeting that took place in Tillman's Corner at the community center.
If
Well,
everyone was introduced to me,
were you at the meeting? Were you at that meeting, community meeting that Trey led?
no, ma'am, I wasn't.
Okay, that's what I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just
No, ma'am,
trying
I
to
was
say,
not.
okay. Well, the engineer of record that addressed the community at the time made a very bold statement that the plans would require a subdivision of the property, and because people, as the two individuals you've already heard from, they're okay with the downzoning. It's not the downzoning, it's the impact that that downzoning will have. And a traffic study was something that kind of gave people peace of mind that that would be required. And I just recently received the 108-page traffic study, but the city's recommendation and also from the study that came up to the Planning Commission was that no changes were needed. However, the study was done, which is, we've already heard, in the middle of the pandemic, actually the beginning of the pandemic, and schools were stopped and businesses came to a halt. And again, the idea was, how do you get a good traffic plan? And there were no traffic studies done internal. And one of the biggest complaints of the Carriage Hills group was the fact that they already have traffic problems that the city is very acutely aware of, but we don't have any management in place. But there are tools out there. And the idea that things have already been approved, they've been approved in piecemeal and not looking at the big picture or the long-term effects of the change that's getting ready to happen. And as far as the Asheville neighborhood, there is no speakers here today, to my knowledge. I think that everyone has spoken on this public hearing, but those residents were told initially that any future property that was near them was to be in their neighborhood. They had no idea that it was to continue into and extend into another neighborhood. They had been used to the one-way in and out without cross-through traffic. But I understand the need to release some of that traffic up to them, but at the same time, their quality of life will change as well. So what kind of management do they need at the top of their subdivision out to Cottage Hill? And no recommendations were made. But again, I believe that the timing of the traffic study that was supposed to give people a peace of mind was done at a time where the traffic was not adequate or indicative of the area. So that's the concern that I believe is echoed by the residents, and also an understanding of what needs to be there to mitigate and stabilize a neighborhood, not deteriorate it by any stretch of the imagination. We should never be responsible for that. So I appreciate you being here, but we have a bit of a history with Jade Consultants and engineering, but it was a traffic study that, which I keep harping on, is flawed based on when it was done to represent what changes might need to occur or what would be happening. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rich. Anyone else have any questions?
I do.
Ms. Gregory?
Bess, this may be for you or for the gentleman representing the Mr. Marcinko, the engineering company. Has there been any discussion with the developer at all toward putting in a separate entrance exit onto Cottage Hill Road?
That was touched on at the meeting, because that was certainly something that people saw as an immediate way of curing the problem. But we were told that they didn't control that property, but they were willing to do whatever the city would require based on any changes that this 124 subdivision would require. And again, by saying that no changes, when we already know there are significant problems in that neighborhood that the city is very well aware of. We're tried to cure the Zaxby and Royal Carriage by putting a divider in the middle of the lane where people were using it. It's a turn lane as you approach Hillcrest. However, people were using it as a straightaway and creating a lot of very serious accidents. So the city came up with that idea as far as working with that when the property across got developed. It's okay when things are not in use, but the minute it gets developed, everything changes. And we've seen that over and over again out in West Mobile. But our jobs is to make sure that those changes do not destabilize a neighborhood. If anything, does everything in our powers through zoning and planning to make sure it's done right.
Mr. President.
You want to say anything?
Can I speak on that? Or
yes, please.
Let's hear back from Mr. Marcinko, and then we'll come right to you, Councilman Richardson.
Okay, great. Thank you. First, I apologize. No, I was not at the community meeting. Trey Jenwright this morning he's my boss. He is attending a funeral this morning, so I'm here upon his behalf. But I wanted to touch on where your comments about the traffic study and the plat and the rezoning. It is correct. We do have a traffic study. That traffic study was approved by the city traffic engineer, stating that there's no issue with the counts provided, compared to the numbers in the area pre-pandemic numbers. That report also analyzes connections of Cottage Hill Road to Hillcrest. And these streets that we're talking about here, where this T intersection comes in, the focal point of the concern, both of these streets here were stubbed out by future developers as a connection. Neither one are cul-de-sacs. They're both proposed to be future extensions of these neighborhoods. They're both public streets. And my understanding is that the city engineer, city traffic engineer all agree that these were always meant to be extended. And we're doing that to provide a smooth transition from these neighborhoods to what the new neighborhood is being proposed.
Another question, and I hear you, Mr. Marcinko, I appreciate that. And I also understand where Mrs. Rich is coming from. I've got some things going on in my district where we were looking to try to get a more up-to-date traffic count than what you would get during the pandemic. If there was a move to have another traffic study done when things are more normalized, what would that do to the development plans? Is the developer ready to start work tomorrow, or can they wait for things to normalize a bit and do another traffic study?
Well, I can't speak to the exact timeline, but I do know that we have a number of minor comments from the city that we are working to develop or working to complete at this time. As far as speaking to the traffic study and the connection to Cottage Hill, my initial concern would be separation of those drives. If you had its own connection to Cottage Hill, the separation between the two. And as I said before, the traffic study that was submitted, all the analysis was done and compared to historical data in this area, and the numbers were agreed upon and were reviewed by the city traffic engineer and agreed that they matched the numbers pre-COVID, pre-pandemic numbers. So the numbers are very similar during this time where they took the study as opposed to before. So I wouldn't expect any change.
Thank you. Whether those are all your questions, Ms. Gregory? Thank you. Mr. Richardson?
Yes, I would just like to say that this is a public hearing, and I certainly understand you all coming to voice your opinion regarding traffic. What's going to be actually before first of all, the council can't do anything about it. That's an issue for the administration. We can't route traffic, reroute it. All of that is up to the administration. So what is before us is that you have multiple zoning on a piece of property, R1, R2, and B1, which is neighborhood professional business. So R2 is multiple dwellings under the same roof. So the contractor, it seems to me, or the developer is trying to go with R1 instead of all. Let me just say what he could do if it drop the request to have one zoning designation for all of that property and stay with R1, R2, and B1. He would need submit a building plan, get a building permit, and keep on going. He would have to come to us. He would have to come to the planning commission because it's already zoned for that. So it seems to me that you'll be better off. It's not to go with business and put all of that into the mix. To go R1 is the most desirable zoning designation. It's the most desirable zoning designation. So I feel reasonably sure that you all are not going to oppose R1 to go to B1, B2, or B1 or any of that. So it's a matter on this traffic, it's a matter of you all sitting down with the administration and make them know what you want, because the council can't do it. Sit down with the administration. So I don't care what they build up there, it's pretty much traffic is going to call for some traffic to come up there. There's going to be some traffic because if they build houses, people are going to have to get home. There's nothing we can do about that. You're now trying to minimize the traffic. So I think the traffic engineer ought to tell y'all how you can minimize the traffic coming onto the subdivision. That's something for the traffic engineer to recommend that you all do. So a traffic study is not going to help. People going to have to get home. So you're just talking about that piece of land that's affected, not what's already up there. It's what they're trying to build impact where you all are. It's nothing you can do if it's R1. People, they can build a house. We can't tell nobody you can't use that piece of land to build a house. You can do that on a piece of land. They can build a house. Now if they're trying to build some company, factory, something that you don't want, the council can say, no, you're not going to do that. But a house, we're not going to oppose nobody for building a house. We're not going to oppose that. But it is a way you can cul-de-sac the traffic. There's a lot of things you can do with the traffic in designing the subdivision. I think you all need to sit down with a traffic engineer and see how you can minimize the impact on where you live with the traffic. That's what I recommend.
If I could comment?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I'll be brief.
Thank
That's
you.
exactly what the residents are trying to do. regardless of what would be permitted. It's mitigating the change and how to make that the best it can possibly be. So you're right. Should there be additional cul-de-sacs somewhere? There was not a study done internal at all. So that's another thing. That traffic engineer asked for the 3 entry points, 1 on Hillcrest and 2 on Cottage Hill for the counts. But there are problems already within the neighborhood of Carriage Hills. And that impact was not studied. So if we're going to rezone, even a downzoning, which people do not have a problem with, it's how does that development, and you ended your statement, Councilman Richardson, by saying it should be mitigated. So that's exactly what I, as a council person, are trying to do. And how does we go about, and what does that look like prior to the rezoning? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rich. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during this particular public hearing?
Mr. President, if I may.
Absolutely, Mr. Williams.
Well, thanks to the residents and the representative as well for attending and helping us understand the issue a little bit. Chris, how long can we postpone a vote on zoning while related items are addressed to satisfy the concerns of the neighborhood?
The ordinance says, regarding the, whenever the rezoning is sent back over from the Planning Commission with the recommendation, the council shall examine the application, submit to it and reports, and take such further action as it deems necessary or desirable, can determine whether to hold a public hearing, which has been done clearly. And it says, if the city council determines not to hold a public hearing or takes no action within 30 days after the application and report are received from the city clerk, the application shall be deemed denied.
That 30 days, did it start with the Planning Commission or did it start with the public hearing?
It starts when the application is received by the clerk.
When was that, Madam Clerk?
Weeks ago. About 4 weeks ago.
So we're already on that.
It takes 4 weeks to advertise.
Well,
You're on
Yeah, it
mute,
takes 4
Bess.
weeks
We
to
can't hear you.
advertise.
Didn't determine. It says if you determine not to hold a public hearing or take no action.
We're taking it.
We did determine to take a public hearing.
Yes. So it's our timeline now.
That's what I'm trying to help here, just trying to outline it for everybody involved.
Right. I know about the law that says if we didn't have to call the public hearing and then it would automatically be denied. But I feel that this, because the rezoning is not necessarily the problem. The problem is how do we mitigate what those changes will now do to established neighborhoods?
Everybody understands it. The question is,
I don't think we're on a timeline because we've had the hearing and we are now working towards a resolve on making this the best we can.
I know it.
And a pandemic is kind of an unknown, but
I'm willing to help you if you'll just let me try.
yes,
Okay.
no, I get where you're going from, but
All right, so
I'm not.
let's get an answer here. You know, if we were to delay this and ask for another traffic study that is more representative of what we believe is pre or post pandemic, is there a timeline? I'm asking the attorney, can we delay it for 90 days? Or can we not? Is there a limit to, since we have already taken action and intend to take further action, is there a timeline that's on our decision?
You had the public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks to me like the take no action, and I'll just read it again. If the city council determines not to hold a public hearing or takes no action within 30 days after the application is received, then it's deemed denied.
We have
But we're
taken,
having the public hearing.
Action on the hearing.
Right,
But you
but if
did
we take
hold a public
action,
hearing.
if we take action to put a calendar date on getting better information that is
that's very good.
also not only those 3 intersections, but interior, because there are interior problems, in order to rezone and make sure, hopefully, that the pandemic has passed, because that's really, the elephant in the room as far as looking at numbers. I don't know if there are any standards within Carriage Hills that they can go back historically and look at. They obviously, there was some historic on the 3 intersections, the major intersections they talked about, but there is going to be an impact into Asheville and into Carriage Hills that needs to look at the internal movement in those neighborhoods in order to not have a negative effect on them. And I feel if we're legislating timelines, we are acting. We are not acting. We didn't go silent.
I agree.
We want information to make a good decision.
Right.
So,
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Williams, can I finish? Can I finish?
I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, are you?
I'm still on this, on the exact same question, and this is fair to the residents and the developer. This
Right.
is not against or for anybody, but for a fair process. That I think today, we need to set a day specific, not just let it go over by council rules, because I think we might pass that 30 days of inactivity if we do. Because we're already, by Madam Clerk's comment, was that we got it 4 weeks ago. So we've already at the 30 days. So we need to make a motion to postpone the vote to a date determined, so that we can further pursue the traffic study. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
yeah, Mr. President. I think
Was that all, Mr. Williams? Yeah. Okay, he's on. Okay, Ms. Greger.
Yeah, I think what John is saying is correct, since we are taking action. You all remember when we were looking at a rezoning appeal from the veterinary clinic. We took action, but we were able to move that back for a long time, actually, while more discussion was had. So I think we are doing exactly what is allowed by postponing and giving the residents, the administration, and the developer some more time to look at this. I don't see a problem with that at all.
I totally agree.
I said, let's do it.
Let's do it.
I have a
Mr.
question
Davis.
I'm allowed to ask.
Okay, now who is this now?
This is Paul Marcinko on behalf of the applicant. I just had a question as far as timeline. I'm not sure what timeline you're going to suggest, but if the numbers are to relate to post-pandemic numbers, then what if, we have no idea when the pandemic's going to end.
I wish I had the answer to that question. It's a $1 million answer. I hope and pray it's soon, but that's great observation. Any further persons who would like to participate in this? I think we have a path forward. It may not be a path everybody likes, but it's a good path. Any other commentary during this particular public hearing? If not, this public hearing is closed.
Okay, Ms. Jessie, it's gonna be your turn. You just sit here and talk.
Thank you, guys. You'll let those guys, there you go. See Mr. Watley?
Okay, public hearing to declare the structures at 1367 Congress Street, 2320 Borkin Boulevard, 3920 Delmont Court, 1775 and 1801 Pace Avenue. Public nuisances and ordering them demolished and trash and debris removed. And 415 Gaston Street, 862 Charles Street, 620 Bellsaw Avenue, 652 Pilling Street, 907 Kendrick Street are fixing the cost for demolition and for securing of structures.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in either of these public hearings?
Yes, we have, Ms. Jessie, here to speak. Lana, we'll need to unmute.
I see her, but she's on mute. There we go.
That's
Okay.
it.
Uh,
Good morning, Miss Jessie. If you could state your name and address for the record for us.
My name is Mary Jessie, 2206 Downs, DOWNS Court, Mobile, Alabama, 36617.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I received a letter to the effect that the amount of $4,700 had been put into this house on 415 Gaston Street, but I went down there and I looked. I do not see $4,700 worth. In fact, I have been placing boards at the window. I keep the property clean. I have a guy that comes down every 2 weeks and keep it clean. And I do not see the amount of $4,700 that's involved in this property. It's a nice property. It was built in 1904. It's an old house, but it's nobody in it. Like I tried to get someone to rent it, but each time they would just mess it up. And I would get someone to put boards and things at the window, and then they would break in it. And you cannot get the house insured unless someone lives in it. So it's difficult to get someone to rent it when they just mess it up. So they just came down and the city of Mobile and I don't understand the amount here because it is awful talking about $4,700 that they put into this house. It looked like maybe like $500, but not $4,700.
Mr. Dothan.
Yes, Mr. President, I'm here. And
Could you-
I just wanted to follow up that, yes, the municipal enforcement did secure the house at 415 Gaston Street. And I did have a chance to speak with Miss Jessie, I believe it was last week, regarding the securing of this property. The house, the condition, it was open to the public. And we did serve notice, which I have documentation. We sent certified and first class mail to Miss Jessie. And I have a signature here on the return receipt. No action was taken, and regretfully, the city had to move forward to secure the house. And if the council remembers,
I have not
about a year ago.
Hold 1 second, Miss Jessie. We're gonna let Mr. Doffenbach finish his commentary, and then if you have something to say, we're gonna listen.
And if the council would remember, about a year and a half ago, the standard for securing properties, we went to the materials with the polycarbonate, and that's what was used in this condition to secure the house. So that the labor and the materials to secure the house came to $4,500, and then there's also a $200 admin fee, bringing it up to the $4,700 that we see on the agenda item today to secure the cost, or to fix the cost of securing.
Miss Jessie?
Yes.
Did you have anything to say as relates to what Mr. Doffenbach just shared with us?
Yeah, this is excessive amount of money. And if you go down there and look, then I went down there, I believe it was last Saturday, and it still got someone in there, bedding in there. Some of the ceiling is hanging down, and they said they just put it back in tip-top shape, I guess. But I don't see it. I think this is excessive.
Mr. Doffenbach.
Yes,
are
Mr.
you still
President.
there? Would you
Yes.
have available for Miss Jessie a breakdown of how you arrived, or how that figure was arrived?
Yes, there's quotes that are sent out to the local contractors that we have done multiple business with, requesting quotes. And upon the receipt of those quotes, it's determined the lowest qualified bidder. And in this case, the lowest qualified bidder was Dee's Lawn Care with the bid of $4,500 to secure the property. And again, the materials used is the polycarbonate, the clear plastic type, so that we reduce the impact of blight on the community once we're finished. It's also a stronger product that's less impactive, and it's less chance of it decaying over time. So we have a benefit of a longer securing versus just using the plywood. And that was performed, the Dee's Lawn Care did that securing of the structure, and that's the cost based on the quotes that we received from the city as being the lowest qualified bidder. And again, this is only to secure the exterior. No work was done on the inside of the house.
And just to make certain, prior to this work starting, you sent certified letters to Ms. Jessie, letting her know that this was an action that was impending. So, Ms. Jessie, did you receive that letter?
No, I did not.
To follow up, Mr. President, that yes, the city of Mobile does a
I did
title
not
search.
sign that. No, I did not get that. I didn't know anything about them going to that home on down there. I have not received, not at my house. My house is at 2206 Downs Court. That's where I received my mail. If they send it to 415 Gaston Street, I'm sure I didn't get it.
And Mr. President, just to follow up, the title report returned Miss Mary Jessie as the owner of the property, but there's also a lien with Mobile Gas Service and Commonwealth National Bank. We've sent notice to all three entities, and the address listed is for Miss Mary Jessie.
Because I have not done it.
Miss Jessie, if you could, let Mr. Doffenbach finish, and then if you have anything to say in response, we'll come right back to you. Mr. Doffenbach?
Yes, the notice that was sent to Miss Jessie was sent to 2206 Downs Court, and we send not only certified return receipt, which I have a copy with a signature on, we also send first class mail, which did get delivered and it has not been returned to us. We also post a notice on the front of the house. It's a sticker. It's that purplish red sticker notifying the owner, if they were to drive by, that yes, there's an action pending to secure the structure.
Mr. Doffenbach, you remarked that you have a signature. Whose signature is affixed to that?
Regretfully, the signature, it is in a fashion that I cannot read. But there is a signature on the return receipt that was delivered to this address, 2206 Downs Court.
Well, at this juncture, the securing has already taken place, correct?
That is correct.
Yes, it's already.
Well, Miss Jessie, I wish we had other means of being helpful. I'm gonna have to ask that with everything already taking place and the notification being sent out, you're probably gonna have to continue your dialogue with Mr. Doffenbach relative to the cost. There's really nothing we can do at this juncture about changing the cost because the work has already been completed.
Well, it was without my consent. Well, I'll just get a lawyer or something to try to get it straightened out because the work that was done was horrible. And the house was white. They took some ugly gray paint, and it's just ridiculous. And I had been putting boarding up the windows and things to keep the people out. But okay, I'll see about this.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming down today. Anyone else that would like to speak on this particular public hearing or any other called public hearings?
We have Donald Hillary.
Oh, yes, sir.
Regarding Charles Street.
Good morning, Mr. Hillary. If you could state your name and address for the record, and then we look forward to hearing from you.
Name Donald Hillary, but
And
The
your
address,
address? Yes, sir.
my address 2862 Edgewood. Yeah, I'm a member of St. Mark Missionary Baptist Church. I'm down here. I'm a trustee there. I'm down here on behalf of the church.
Yes, sir. But trustee, we're listening.
We listen, we here because the letter instruct us to come here and we object to the cost, which is $2,575. And we don't have notice of when this event occurred. Do you have the date when this event occurred?
Okay, so we've got Mr. Hillary. Who is Mr. Hillary?
Guy in the middle.
Right there, and then I hear somebody else speaking. I just want to make certain I know who
Yes, sir.
we're talking with.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You're talking to Leonard Dunning. Leonard Dunning.
Leonard Dunning?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is your address?
My address is 358 West Street, Mobile.
Wonderful. And you all are here concerning which property?
862 Charles Street.
862 Charles Street. Mr.
Yes, sir.
Dothan, are you still on the line?
Yes, sir, I'm still here.
Okay, they've asked some questions. Can you provide them some information, please?
Yes, sir, 862 Charles Street, I'm shown to be a structure that the municipal enforcement has demolished. And this is the cost to fix the cost of the demolition of that structure. And that would have happened within the last 6 months.
You have a date?
Mr. Dunning, we're listening.
Yeah, I'm asking, do you have the date?
I have to pull the file to look at the actual date. If you could bear with me, it would take me about 15 minutes to pull the file.
Oh, no.
No. Mr. Dothan, can you get these two trustees' numbers and share that information with them, please?
Yes, I can. If I can get a contact number, I'd be more than happy to share the entire file. They have a chance to review not only the date it was demolished, but who the contractor was and who we notified and the specific dates within that file.
Miss Lana, if you could get both of those trustees' names and numbers and email it over to Mr. Dothan so that they can have privy to that file, it would be real helpful.
Well, is David there? Can David just walk downstairs?
I don't know. Where are you now, Mr. Dothan?
I am in my office, and it'll take me about 15 minutes to pull that file.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he'll do. But in the interim, send their information over to him so that when he has the file, they can meet up and go from there. Thank you so much. Did they have anything else, Mr. Dunning or Mr. Hillary? Did you all have anything else you all wanted to say?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, our concern is
you're breaking up on us. I'm sorry.
It's the timeline, because when things shut down in March, our concern is we was late in receiving any kind of mail or notification to address the issue that was going on at Charles Street.
His paperwork will show that.
Mr. Hillary and Mr. Dunning, the paperwork that Mr. Dothan is going to show you will clear all that up.
It will show us a timeline when he tried to notify us.
Yes. He should have all of that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, we still dispute the cost, $2,700.
I wouldn't. At this juncture, you know, the house is torn down now, and the man that disputed, you're gonna be meeting with him in just a few minutes, Mr. David Dothan.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming down, and thank you for the work you're doing for the church.
Mr. Manzi.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll give him
Mr. Manzi.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Doggenbach going to come downstairs?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this particular public hearing or any other public hearings called by City Clerk? If not, the public hearings are closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. We have on the line, we have Mr. Marks and Mr. Richardson, Dr. Richardson.
Which one gonna speak?
Dr. Richardson, Mr. Marks, which one of you will be speaking? Oh, their audio, hold on, their audio is still connecting. Mr. Marks, Dr. Richardson, which of you will be speaking? You're muted.
You're muted, Mr. Marks.
Okay. We both will be speaking, but Dr. Richardson will initiate the meeting.
Okay. Because
Well,
I had it as either or, and you only get 3 minutes to address.
So, Damien, I'll start off because, well, firstly, let me just say this. Thank you. Appreciate all of this. The fact of the matter is, I'm a little confused as to why, if 2 people take the effort to sign up to be on the agenda, we would have our time mitigated and space less.
Dr.
Yes.
We're expending time with that commentary, if you don't mind. We want to hear as much as we can from you all.
Okay. Dr. Raul Richardson, 650 Clinic Drive, Mobile, Alabama, 36608. I've been observing all of your pre-council meetings today, the existing meeting going on, and I do realize that you guys are running a little bit later and a little bit over time. We've been efforting to address this concern from the Mobile Police Citizens Community Relations Advisory Council for a number of weeks. We've provided documentation and emails to all of you, including the mayor's office, Chief Barber, and Baptiste, for which we've heard nothing but crickets in terms of responses. We were kind enough to be in receipt of a communication from Mr. Manzi, President Manzi, and Vice President CJ Smalls about 10 days ago, in which we had a very useful conversation, and we actually communicated by virtue of email documentation, which we expected to hear a response from the mayor last week, despite the abrupt curtailing of our ability to talk, at which point he indicated that he was going to respond once he received it in writing, which I would have thought he'd already been in receipt of. Nevertheless, that being said, the ask that we provided should now be in all of your emails relative to the conversations we had with Vice President Small and President Manzi. And largely, my concern is this. The fact of the matter is, while there's an abundance of issues I'm clearly not qualified to speak to relative to the experience that each of you esteemed members of the council and the mayor's office represent, the fact of the matter is that we are efforting to address a concern. There's been no mitigation in the COVID virus. There's been no reduction of social unrest in the global perspective. And there's got to be, as evidenced by this ordinance, some effort that we can make in regards to building the bridges that you guys have authorized by virtue of your ordinance 09044, that we can build those relationships with the community and law enforcement. And we've only asked for a few simple things to be able to accomplish this. I'd like to know what the response is that we were expecting to receive last week by virtue of the written response from the mayor's office. And the only reason I didn't ask those questions at that moment in time is largely because I thought I'd already memorialized those requests by documenting it to Vice President Small and President Manzi. Now I hope that you guys can confirm that you're all in receipt of that communication so that we can get some kind of an expeditious response so we can get about the business that's necessary for us to do those things that are in best service to the law enforcement professionals, our community, and the citizenry therein.
From Anitra.
Dr. Richardson.
Yes.
The response that you referencing was a response that was due to us from the administration through Mayor Stimson. I've been in communication with him even as of this morning as to that response. It wasn't a response that you were waiting for from this council, because the items you've requested would have to be provided by the administration. I've been notified that a response is in our inbox. I believe all of us have it, and we will have it disseminated both to you and Mr. Marks and every member of the council, the Police Citizens Advisory Council, as quickly as possible.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, President Manzi. That being said, I'm sorry, I'm a scientific-minded kind of a person, and any conversation that doesn't include a mathematical equivalent becomes basically rhetorical for me. So I'd like to know if we should be able to expect that we're going to be able to continue the business as dictated by the ordinance within a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, if in fact this information is already in our inbox. Can you be more specific about what timeframes we can expect to be able to execute on these activities?
Well, you should expect to have the mayor's answer to your inquiries ASAP, as soon as the city clerk can have it disseminated to y'all's inboxes. And I think once you read his response, it'll probably be necessary for you and Mr. Marks, and also myself and whoever else would want to have further dialogue with the administration for us to do so.
Okay, so we're awaiting your response. And I would just mention this, given the amount of time that's been spent on other pressing issues before this council, how much more time are we going to have to spend if in fact we have any level of social unrest or some unfortunate incident that were to occur for which cannot be anticipated at this moment in time, where we're going to have to respond much more expeditiously than we've been efforting to respond in regards to this very, very simple request.
Well, and all I would say to that, Mr. Richardson, is I concur. The lag time has not been on any member of this council. As a matter of fact, it was this council that put forward this initiative in the first place, and it's been this council that has breathed new life into this initiative. The items you all have requested are items that can only be provided by the administration. Had I, as council president or Vice President Small, had the ability to have put into motion any of the things you all have asked for, we would have gotten concurrence from our council members, and we would have moved forward in a much more expeditious manner in order to supply what you all have requested. But at every juncture, every request you've made has been efficiently and expeditiously sent over to the administration. And as we've gotten responses from the administration, which is as of today, we will send that information over to you all. We appreciate your hard work. We appreciate your passion. And we look forward to working ever so closely with this council in order to keep peace and harmony here in the city of Mobile.
Well, thank you so much, President Manzi. And as a final thought, I would submit to all of the members of the council, those fundings and monies that are currently represented within the context of your discretionary funds possibly could be a mechanism by which you can address this, notwithstanding whatever support the mayor's office intended to provide for us by virtue of the email we're expecting to receive from the city council. Thank you.
And we are aware of that, Dr. Richardson. Thank you, and thank you, Vice President Marks and all the members of the Citizens Council, and we look forward to further dialogue. Madam City Clerk, you are in receipt of the mayor's response to their request?
Yes, sir.
Will you please, as quickly as possible, as a matter of fact, will you have our Assistant City Clerk disseminate that response to all members of the Police Citizens Council so that everybody's on the same page? And we look forward to having further dialogue after you all are in receipt of his response.
But if I would, I would just like to add one quick thing. The resources that we are requesting, we actually did a lot of research, and we noticed that cities like Huntsville, they have websites, email address, established meeting areas. They also have televised meetings for the public. And so many of the things that we requested are very urgent and is necessary for us to be able to function accordingly. Thank y'all, and I appreciate everything. And we have had a great relationship with this council, and we appreciate your support.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Marks. Thank you, Dr. Richardson.
Yes, sir.
Madam City Clerk.
Madam City Clerk, this is David Dockenbaugh, Municipal Enforcement.
Yes.
If the council and Mr. President Manzi would like to have additional information for 862 Charles Street, I have some additional information if they require it.
You can send that to the clerk, Mr. Dockenbaugh, and I'll I'll access it from there. Thank you.
David, they're waiting on you downstairs. They are downstairs. Are you in this building, Mr. Dockenbach?
No, ma'am. I'm out at the West Admin Complex by Zoom.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, if you'll go ahead and send that to us, then we'll bring it down to them.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Essential COVID items held over, 64033. Ordinance to rezone property located at 871 South Washington Avenue and 759 and 763 Pillings Avenue from B3 and R2 to B3. 64034, ordinance to rezone property located at 4350 and 4362 Government Boulevard from R1 to B2. 4586, declare the structure at 600 St. Louis Street a public nuisance and order it demolished. 01738, authorize agreement with Osprey Initiatives for the EPA Gulf of Mexico Trash-Free Waters Grant Project. 08740, 741, 742, 743, 744, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49, 750 and 751 are authorizing contracts with AutoNation Ford, Mobile, Deere and Company, Stevens Ford Lincoln, Inc., Aardvark for robot package for the police department, Service Wear Apparel for uniform shirts, Century Industries for hydraulic stage for special events, Coral Medical for defibrillators, Service Wear Apparel for uniform shirts, Furno, Washington for ambulance stretchers, Home Depot commercial account for dining tables, Utilicom Supply Associates for traffic signals, truck equipment sales for crew cab dump truck, Michael Baker International for engineering services associated with Beauregard Street. I'm sorry, scratch that one. Do we want to take out the stretchers, the ambulance stretchers? Are we good to go on that one? And are we good to go on the home?
Chief Lamy should be online to give us an explanation on those stretchers. Very informative, and we look forward to hearing from him.
So if we take that one out, we can go ahead on and vote on all of the rest of them, and then go back to that one and have some discussion on it if we want to.
Okay.
Let's hear from.
Just need a motion.
Right. Is there a motion?
Okay, hold on. Do we want to, because I have others that I did not read. Those are just the purchase orders.
Just go ahead and read the rest of them, Lisa.
Okay. All right. 21752, authorized contract with Michael Baker International for engineering services associated with Beauregard Street at CSX Railroad Bridge. 21753, authorized 3-year service contract with Johnson Controls for chiller service and maintenance at various City of Mobile facilities. 21754, authorized service contract with Adelt Port and Maritime for upgrades to the master control systems for the movable gangway at the cruise terminal. 21755, authorized contract with Watermark Design Group for fire training center administration classroom building phase 2. 60770, authorized applications agreement and cost for APWA and CAPRA accreditation.
So moved.
Second.
We probably moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to have more, our fire chief to give us some more information on 748.
We're not, that's not part of this. She pulled 748 out.
No, she didn't.
Madam Clerk, did you pull 748 out?
No, it's in there. She read it.
No, I did read it, but I asked if you all wanted me to take those two separately.
There's no need to.
748 and 749.
So it's included?
Yes.
Madam City Clerk?
It is. Yes, they are included.
Great.
Okay.
So we're at discussion, and we'll hear from Chief Lane.
Hey, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to, I know there were some questions about the stretcher, so I'll just kind of give you a rundown of how this process kind of plays out and why we're pursuing them. This process actually started back in 2017, and we really were testing some different powered stretchers back then, but we just didn't have the funds to be able to get them yet. So it kind of got tabled a little bit, but during that time frame, we pulled some data on injuries on our employees. And what we realized was from 2010 to 2017, we had over $300,000 that were directly attributed to lifting patients. And so we identified that, and that does not, those numbers do not include a couple of employees that were permanently disabled and had to leave this job, which incurred additional city cost as well. Now, we obviously know that I can't guarantee that these stretchers will eliminate all injuries, but what we've got is our first responders' health and safety in mind. And what we feel, what the data has shown is these stretchers can significantly lessen the burden on the employees from having to lift people from the ground. Obviously, they can sit on the stretcher. The stretcher has a 700-pound capacity and does most of the lifting for them. But just to give the council an idea of how the process plays out, we don't make these decisions on our own. If any of our personnel are going to be using a product, we generally try to test it. And so we have placed this stretcher along with a competitor stretcher into a trial out in the field, and we tested them for 30 days each, rotating it on the crews. So they each had a couple of weeks testing one stretcher and then a couple of weeks testing the other stretcher. And we wanted to see, one, this is something that they wanted to go to, that is something that they felt like would benefit their job. And then two, we wanted to get feedback to see which one we should pursue based on their feedback. And we went through that entire process. We got feedback from all the employees, and it was unanimously selected that they should go to the Furno stretcher, which is actually the cheaper alternative versus the initial estimates we obtained from another brand. Now, the base price, just to give everybody an overview, typically we have a manual stretcher. Right now it is a Furno. That manual stretcher is about $8,000. We didn't obviously price those out, but based on a quick conversation with the sales rep, that price is about $8,000 right now if we were to replace our manual stretcher. And then we have to purchase a system inside the ambulance that it goes into that can cost $2,000 to $3,000. Now this price, so that's what a manual stretcher costs now. This stretcher, a powered stretcher that uses battery power to operate a simple closed hydraulic system that elevates and lowers the stretcher, its base price is about $15,000. Well, base price, I mean all the options included, okay? Now, where the additional cost per unit comes from is the stretcher requires a new floor fastener system be installed in all of the ambulances. So we got 11 stretchers on frontline ambulances. That's how many are operating in the city on a daily basis. These new power stretchers, since our other stretchers are about 7 years old, these new stretchers require a different floor fastening system. That installation of that system, to purchase that system and to install it, is about $5,000 of the cost per stretcher. So the bid was set up in such way that we don't have to go back out and bid something else to install the product. All of that is handled by the manufacturer or by our sales representative company that we're ultimately contracting with. So $15,000 base price on the power stretcher, $5,000 to install it with the floor fastening system as well that takes place. And then there's another $5,000 that we decided to add on there on the warranties. Now, why we feel this is important is each year, not only does it include the warranty, this takes care of the product for 7 years. And what we found is the stretchers that we currently use, we have to get those certified each year because we are using them in patient care, and they test these stretchers. They perform the maintenance on them because they are certified to do so. And this covers that for an additional 5 years after the initial 2. So for 7 years, we don't have to do anything with the stretchers. All parts and labor is covered. The annual inspection and preventative maintenance is covered once a year. That includes the technician coming into Mobile. Just to give some perspective there, we spent almost $2,000 last year on paying a company to come in and perform that service. So we certainly weighed, they are expensive, and I get it. And every decision that we make, we look at and determine, one, is this an expense that we want to incur? And two, do we have a benefit to not only our firefighters and paramedics that are on those units every day, but also the citizens of Mobile? So we looked at everything based on the support from those that tested it in the field and will ultimately use it. and then comparing, just knowing what it takes to repair medical equipment. As you know, it's very expensive. It's very expensive to get worked on. It's very expensive to buy. And based on that and some other warranties that we've purchased on medical equipment, we realized the value there and the fact that it has saved money for the city and having those in place. So we weighed all those factors and ultimately made a decision to pursue them. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
No,
Any
sorry.
questions of Chief Lamey?
Yes, Mr. President.
Richardson? And then Mr. Williams.
Which one of you want to go first?
I think I heard you first and then Mr. Williams.
Okay. Chief, I was one of the person who raised the issue of the cost more than $26,000 per stretcher. I also went online to price other stretchers and was way out of line from other stretchers. So I wanted someone to tell me what caused the price to go up. And I hear you loud and clear. You all, first of all, you got to retrofit the ambulance so it could access the new stretchers. Then you got a warranty. You went on and got a warranty. I had resolved in my mind that the stretcher itself didn't cost $26,000. And I was right, based on what you just got through telling us. But if we have to replace these stretchers, we wouldn't have to go back and do anything with the truck. We just buy the stretchers, hook them in, and keep on rolling. Where now, taking the old stretchers out, you got to retrofit the truck for the new stretchers, and that's going to incur a cost too, along with you decided to go with the warranty, and that's expensive also. So I'm satisfied, but I was not satisfied before you explained what you all were doing.
Yes, sir. And I'll give you some more backstory on that. What happens is the ambulance standards change every so often. And what they realize is they try to make it safer for the patients that are riding in the back. Some of our ambulances have an existing system in there. It's called a stat track. It works with our existing, some of our existing stretchers. But all ambulances going forward will have to have this special floor fastening system installed with them from the manufacturer, because if the ambulance ever gets in an accident, tips over and wrecks, what they realized is that the other stretchers would become dislodged from the mechanisms in the back and create a hazard to the patient and the responder. So this actually brings only 5, it's my understanding that only 5 of our ambulances currently have that meet the standard. So we're actually going to bring into compliance all of our ambulances for the national standard for transport. So we're achieving a couple of different things here, but that's why the cost starts to go up. But we feel that those other 2 add-ons are probably, we feel like they're a good idea based on all the research we did and the reasons I gave you.
Hey, Mr. President.
Mr. Williams.
Chief, if you could further expand on the response, the fact that we're going to have an extra one, that they have to give us one within a certain amount of time. Remember that part? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. So part of the agreement was they have to provide a stretcher within, I think it's within 48 hours, if I remember correctly. It's on the bid documents, a replacement in the event one of these goes down. We keep multiple stretchers now for special event units or spares. We place that into the bid so that the city doesn't have to incur that cost and keep these extra reserve stretchers available, because they are a little bit more expensive. And to your credit, Mr. Richardson, you are correct. Going forward, if we just have one stretcher go down for whatever reason, a catastrophic failure or an ambulance gets stolen, these things have happened before in the city of Mobile, but we would just be required to place that stretcher at a much cheaper price than overall putting that system in. But we did buy one spare. That'll be an additional PO probably coming across your desk soon. And the reason that is because it will take them a few days to get us a replacement. And we don't want to have to take a unit out of service or have them operating that stretcher in manual mode for too long. And we can also use it in the event for special events. So we've worked out a few different things here so that we can decrease that overall stockpile of equipment as well.
All right.
Thank you. Well done, Chief.
Thank you, Chief Lamey. Appreciate all of the information. quite informative. That was discussion. Any further discussion on that item or any of the other items?
Yes, I'll talk about the furniture. I
Yes,
got the
ma'am.
specs, and it's actually a recycled product. It's made from milk cartons. Actually, it's plastic, but for whatever reason, it's very expensive. I didn't see any bids for like products. Like, in other words, did they bid it out? And they said something last week about it being part of a state contract, that they could go with this company or use the Home Depot commercial account. So, you know, I learned a little bit more, but I guess I was expecting it to be a real substantial type of table. But I don't know what the guarantee is or how long. It's not supposed to fade. So since it's outdoors, that might have some practicality. But and I can share what I got if you all didn't get the same thing, because I got the specs on it. So it's a 44-inch rectangular table, and the 4 chairs, they're side chairs. And they look like side chairs in plastic.
Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All in opposition? Items passed.
Okay. Essential COVID items being introduced for the first time, 50035 through 6792.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of items 03772, 03773, 31776, 777, 40, 778, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 58, 789, 58, 790, 60, 791, and the remainder will lay over for 1 week pursuant to council rules. And I assume that we've added Ms. Gregory and my transfers to the United Way to 6791. Is that correct?
Yes, we have.
Thank you. Need a second.
Need a second.
This is yours in there?
No, I want to make sure that 64036 will just lay over by our standards right now. And next week, hopefully we'll be able to have more information on how much time that it needs to rest in order to get more information to this council.
Yeah, right now, I didn't call it out, so it's just gonna lay over a week.
Yeah, I hear
Okay,
you. But
that's by standard.
I hear you, but are we going to get outside of 30 days of not legislatively acting?
We've done this before where we need more information. We are acting. This is protocol for the first read on an ordinance. And
That's
next week we'll have a
okay.
better idea.
I was trying to.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing, John. I see exactly what you're trying to do.
Okay, John, do you have a date in mind that you would like to see this return to council?
I just think we need to vote to delay, and that would be an action. See, to lay it over by council rules is inaction. In my own opinion, and Chris has not disputed that yet. I think maybe he'll dispute it, but I think it is an inaction. And I don't want the 30 days to go by and we lose our opportunity and we're kind of unfair to the developer in a sense. So I just don't want to cause any undue burden on anyone. And I want to preserve this opportunity right now to address this because I think you got a great issue.
Right. So you're saying to delay it with no date certain to bring back, but that's action. Is that what you're saying?
I say delay it to call out next week or call out the next day, even though it's my rule, take the action to delay it. And then it takes out any doubt of whether or not we acted on it and are active in addressing it.
Okay. I was hoping to get maybe a date by working with the traffic engineering department, the consultant, to see whether there was some information we could have to get better information back. But I hear what you're saying. I'm sensitive to all parties. That's our jobs. So if Chris agrees, then delaying it and then having it come back with another date, perhaps.
I read that thing 3 or 4 times. I think you've taken it up. The way I read that, the 30-day thing applied if you just ignored the application totally and it never got on the agenda.
Okay.
So I think that it's on the agenda, it's holding over, and then next week you can vote to hold it over for whatever time period you want. You could also do a motion right now to hold it over for some certain period of time. You would need immediate consideration of that.
Okay. That's the first I'm hearing that. So good. All right.
Okay,
Good.
thank you. And thank you,
Okay.
John. I appreciate it.
So we had a motion, a second. We're having discussion. It's time to vote?
I'm
Vote
sorry,
on-
Mr. President, who made the second?
Mr. Williams.
Okay.
And we're just voting now on taking them up.
Right. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
03772 concurred in the reappointment of Edward Minton to the Mobile County Racing Commission. 03773 appoint Morgan Spivey to the Human Relations Commission. 31776 authorize an application to State Farm for the 2021 Good Neighbor Citizenship Grant. 37777 rescind and revoke Resolution 37758 recommending approval of a retail beer, table wine, off-premises only license for Strategic Solutions and Services on Azalea Road. 778, 779, 780, 781, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87 are declaring the structures at 1367 Congress Street, 2320 Boykin Boulevard, 3920 Delmont Court, 1775 and 1801 Page Avenue, 415 Gaston Street, 862 Charles Street, 620 Bellsaw Avenue, and 652 Pilling Street, 907 Kendrick Drive, public nuisances, and ordering them demolished, and fixing the cost for securing of structures and for demolition of structures and removal of trash and debris. 46788, change the name of Axco Road to Austin Way. 58789 and 790 are declaring weeds noxious and authorizing removal of weeds. Routes 1608 and 1607. 6791, determine the expenditure to the United Way of Southwest Alabama serves a public purpose and approved payments of $2,000, $5,000, and $500 with council members Rich, Daves, and Gregory.
So moved.
Second.
And probably moved in second in the discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Announcements.
Mr. Williams.
I would call everyone's attention to the cannon at Houston Government and Airport. I think it is. It has been well done in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. A group that did this for the first time last year, and based on how well they did the job, I asked the mayor, and he has not confirmed, but he has also not said no, that we make this a standard event each year, so long as the organization is willing to paint it, maintain the area, and repaint the cannon. We get requests all the time for repainting the cannon or to paint the cannon. And I don't think that we ought to paint the cannon for every cause, every month, or every week. But this certainly is one that stands out. It gets its own month and should. And I'm proud of the job that they have done and proud to be a small part of that effort. So go by and look at it. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Ms. Williams. Ms. Rich?
No, thank you.
Mr. Vice President?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just reminding all the citizens, especially in District 3, if any city issue that you have, such as overgrown properties, as far as in weeds and grass and blighted properties, to please dial 311 and to report it, and also get you a SRO number. SRO stands for Service Request Order Number. And again, that's 311 on your cell or your house number, and if 311 does not dial from your cell number, please dial 251 area code 208-5311. Thank you, Mr. President.
No problem, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Mr. President. There will be a meeting of the City Council Finance Committee next week, immediately after the City Council meeting, in order to discuss food truck legislation. Thank you, Mr. President.
No problem. Mr. Richardson?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Safety Committee meeting will be in session, I would say, at 12:35. We're going to take up the issue of street closures, closures of streets, alleys, and public ways. And I'm hopeful that all council members would participate, but especially we need the committee members to be, that's John and Gina, to be present so we could conduct the meeting. I also would like to say that for those in District 1 who you have trash out caused by Sally, and no trash truck visited your property, call 311 and get on record, and they would dispatch someone over there. Now it's going to once they go all around the first time, they're going to come a second time, and then they're going to resume trash pickup on the regular schedule. But they're trying to make sure that they get everybody before they start doing anything else. And there may be some pockets somewhere out there where they missed. If no one been to your property since Sally hit the city, dial 311 and report your street. And then there will be a response from the trash people to come by and pick up your trash. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Ms. Gregory?
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate that. Just a couple of things. The mayor hit on Lawrence Hours' victory. He, the golf pro out at Azalea, he also happens to be a resident of District 7. So again, congratulations to Lawrence. Thursday, I have a organizational meeting for the Friends of Langan Park. It will be at 6:00 p.m. at the old pavilion at Langan. We sent out some invitations to people who had attended our focus group meetings, but this is open to anyone who's interested. Again, it will be at 6:00 this coming Thursday at the old pavilion at Langan Park. Also, if you've been by Langan and you took your garbage bags full of debris, you'll see it has grown. It is just a mountain of debris bags. And I want to thank the administration for making that possible, because it helped people get that extra debris off their yards. And it also helped speed up the collection of all of the debris as well. So a great job out at Langan Park. I need to promote the Mobile Botanical Gardens Fall Plant Sale. It's coming up October 16th and 17th, as well as October 23rd and 24th. You can go in person, or you can also look online to order your plants. Now, there's a little hiccup this year, and that's because there is some construction going on Museum Drive. Moz is doing some utility work out there. So in order to get to the Botanical Gardens, you're going to have to get on Museum Drive from University. But I don't want that to stop anyone from going out there. Remember the plant sale, October 16th and 17th, as well as the 23rd and 24th. You can go in person or you can shop online. Just be sure you get on Museum Drive from University. There is a Administrative Services Committee meeting tomorrow at 10. We'll be looking at the 2 vacation proposals for Metro Jail. If we have reached out to the sheriff, the county commissioners, as well as business owners who are impacted so that they may join in. Of course, you can always watch us on Facebook as well. I think that is it. Again, thanks everybody for wearing your pink. And John mentioned the cannon. That's bras across the causeway. They did a great job. It looks really good. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. I want to start out my announcements by announcing that we were successful on last week. We had Jen Green and Oscar to come and be a part of our Zoom. Oscar was in the running to be the winner of the Garden and Gun Magazine's Good Dog Contest. And we did win. Oscar did win. He's a great dog. And I know that Jen Green is proud. And that's another feather in the cap of the city of Mobile and District 2. Now we have the best dog in the city in District 2. So I'm proud of that. And I want to put some emphasis on letting our citizens know that we do have Saturday in-person absentee voting. There is absolutely no excuse for not voting. And we ought to vote like our lives depend on it, because literally they do. It'll be available October 17th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., October 24th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And there are several churches that have organized to provide transportation. Aimwell Baptist, Corinthian Baptist, Delaware Street Baptist, First Baptist of Baltimore Street, Greater Nazarene, Hopewell, St. Peter, New Shiloh, True Vine, Whitestone. All of those churches are in Mobile. And if you show up at 8:45, 10:30, or 12 noon, they will make certain that you have an air-conditioned ride, hopefully, from their church parking lot to the voting center. There is absolutely no excuse why every person eligible to vote won't vote. And so these resources are available. It's open on Saturday. I've talked with somebody that says it only takes about 3 or 4 minutes in order to go in, do what you need to do, and come on out. And so we want to push that from here until the election. And I want to end my announcements by thanking Colonel DeLapp, John Peavy, the hardworking members of the employees of Public Works, and to ask that our citizens will continue to be patient. What all the debris that was a result of Hurricane Sally, it happened overnight, but it won't be picked up overnight. So continue to show and exert patience. They are coming, and as Councilman Richardson said, if it looks like they hadn't been on your street at all, call 311 so that they can rectify that. But let's show them some patience and some appreciation, because they're doing a hard work, and it's going to take some time to rebound. That concludes my announcements. Any other announcements?
Are we just going to stay on for, Lisa, are we just going to stay on for the committee meeting?
Yes. Yes, we are. You can just, if Mr. Richardson still wants to start at about 12:40, 12:45, then we can take a break. 12:45, we'll take a break, and then we'll just come back. You can turn your video off.
Yeah, but don't sign off.
Don't sign off, no.
Don't sign off.
Okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
President Manley.
Mr. Williams, is there a second?
President.
Mr. President,
Is that?
can I speak? Yes, for a moment.
Is that Mayor Stimson?
It is. Yes,
you may speak, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I apologize for maybe causing some confusion about calling 311 on the pickup. I was referring only to the hazardous or safety type of the piles that are causing a safety situation. I'd like for Colonel DeLapp to explain, where we are Because really, until we've made an entire first pass, we would appreciate people not calling 311. Once we've made the first pass, then, we will let you know so that you can call 311 at that time. But right now, it would overload 311, but I'll let him, weigh in if you would, I think he's on. Yeah, he's ready to speak.
So for the council and for all the citizens, and we've tried to keep everyone up to date as to the status of the debris pickup. Right now, we've picked up over 250,000 cubic yards of debris. We're about 70% complete, but there's about 30% of the streets and neighborhoods that have not seen the first pass of the big trucks coming around to pick up the debris. As the mayor just pointed out, we're still going to get to your neighborhood. We anticipate all that will be done in the next 10 days. We will have completed the first pass in the next 10 days, which is really remarkable that we've made it through all that area and picked up. At that point, we anticipate over 350,000, closer to 380,000 cubic yards of debris. That's our estimate. As the mayor said, after that point, we will let folks know we've done the first pass. If we missed your area or we bypassed it for some reason, then it would probably be okay for you to call. But we do know there's going to be a second pass, and people will have put out debris that they didn't get out in time for the first pass, and that's okay. We're going to make it through the entire city another time. So you really don't need to call 311 right away. There are instances, to be clear, there are instances where there might have been a what we call contaminated pile, where there's a bunch of different things into one big pile, and it may have been skipped initially, but will be come back through and be hand picked apart so that they get the vegetation out from the other items. But yeah, we do not need to call 311 for if you haven't been there, because we have not completed. We still got about 30% of the streets to get to.
Thank you, Carl. And I want to say again, while hopefully you and the mayor are listening, and I'll be memorializing this in a letter, that we are extremely appreciative of John Peavy and all of the members under his and of course the colonel, the mayor, and being so responsive each time we've had issues that John on the spot in providing insight so that we can keep our citizens informed. And it just makes a world's worth of difference to have that level of interaction, and we're certainly appreciative of it. There was a motion, a second, discussion on adjourning. Absent any discussion, all in